So generally, four things we're gonna cover today is the look at the key steps and on how to register. First, selecting. This morning, you already talked about how to use the calendar a little bit, how to read the calendar and select your courses. And then this one is a little bit of a fun workshop where you actually get to build your timetable. So we're going to also talk a little bit more into some strategies and things that you may want to look out specifically for students in this stream and what courses and what variants to take. So we're going to talk about those strategies as well. And actually, hopefully by the end of this session, you will be experts at building your first timetable ever. In fact, this is a skill you're going to refine because you're going to be doing this for the next 4 or 5 years that you're here. Okay. All right. So the first sheet that I have, and these are just a cycle of things and dates that I'm going to highlight the important dates that you may have so that you know what you may need to do between now and September when you start your classes. So the first thing you're doing it already, you're starting to look into the purpose page and select reading the calendar to select your courses. And then hopefully, in fact, you can start logging into Acorn and enrolling, putting some of the courses that you're interested in the enrollment card. Now, how many of you have already started logging into Acorn or tried doing that? Okay, good. If you haven't, start doing that. Okay, you need to kind of get familiarized, make sure that you have the login ID ready to go. So this is definitely something that you could start even after the session. Then the next day that is important is coming up. That's the 3rd of July. That's the date that you can start logging into Acorn and view your start time. Okay, your start time is actually going to be determined by the year of study, as well as in this case, in your first year, it is by category. So they assign people different start times, so not everyone crash in at 6 a.m. in the morning or 9 a.m. in the morning. So you will have, according to a designated start time. So that will be your optimum time to go in and get the courses and sections, lecture sections of your preferred choice. Okay, and then the 20th, July 20th is the actual first day of course enrollment for all first year students on that starting at the start time given to you. So it's important that you note that. Try to do it, schedule it, make sure that that is going to be an important day for you. So please do that. So because priority are given according to your category. So if the later you go in, for example, if you turn out to enroll late on, let's say, June the 28th, then it is possible that you may not be able to get the preferred choice of your lecture sections or tutorial and stuff like that. So I think just try to do that. On the 28th, some of you may be taking courses that are not, that you don't have priority for. Let's say you are interested in a language course or that you did, or a history course that you didn't have priority for earlier, then you could then wait until the 28th. That's an important day. It's called the start of the general enrollment period, and where all the priorities are dropped and the courses become first come first served basis. So that's usually the time when you start sort of enrolling in courses that you didn't previously have priority for. Then August 2nd is that's actually when it actually opens up to all students, including non-degree students, students from other divisions. So that's like your chances of getting the course or the chances of courses being filled up is higher as you move along later in the summer. So, and then once you enroll in courses, the next thing that you will see is that you will see your student account with a charge, and then you have to make sure that you at least pay or defer your fees if you were eligible for federal funding or OSAP. So the deadline to pay your fees is August 30th. After that, soon after that, probably the weekend or not, the university will drop all the courses of students who didn't register, meaning didn't pay their fees. So You do not want to find that yourself in that situation because there is no guarantee we can put you back into those courses. That's why that deadline is extremely important, okay, to remember. And that's when your status actually changes from invite to fully registered. And we can verify that at least the first half of payment or fee deferral established. So, and then I guess you just sit tight and attend the academic orientation fun activities, maybe go check out your books and purpose and whatnot, but on September 7th, that's when class will begin. So another date is like there is a wait list. There are some courses that will have wait lists, and the September 15th, you will have the opportunity to, I guess that will be off, and then after that, September 20th is really the final date in which you should finalize your fall term enrollment. Okay. Any questions so far? Yes.
So are you able to take courses from other faculties then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes and no. I will talk to basically you can, but I think a lot of them will have restrictions, right? But there may be some courses within your program that are from other divisions can. So you can also actually enroll in courses from UTM or UTSC because they are still the same undergraduate level. So, and those will be used as undergraduate degree. The tricky thing about other division is like most likely they will be restricted into their own students in the faculty, or you have to be careful because they may not actually count to our arts and science degree. So unless it is specific that it's approved by your department and the department that you're using, yeah. So be careful about taking courses from other divisions. But definitely for UTM and UTSC, they are considered arts and science credits. So the course code, remember the 7-digit, the last one is a 1. That means it's St. George course credit. If it's a 5, it's UTM. If it's a 3, it's actually from Scarborough. So but you can actually do that. And then if it's a 0, it's a field course that could be anywhere, like in the world. Yes.
Did I really know which courses you have priority enrollment for?
Yes, that's where we're going to talk to lead to next. All right. So again, I just wanted to point out that the course enrollment instructions, that's the link, and all the academic dates and deadlines are also there. That will include dates like when the exams are posted, when it's exam period, when our dates are the university is closed, when's the last day to add or drop courses, all of those dates, certain dates will be on you can find it in the academic dates of that one. Yeah. Okay, so the tools that you're going to be needing to select your courses, obviously this morning we Denise talked about how to use the academic calendar to find, to do the course planning. And then the other part that you need is the timetable builder. So you will also, in addition to that, possibly, in addition to the calendar, sometimes you may go into the departmental websites directly because they might actually get more information. For example, like in the Faculty of Arts and Science calendar, you'll have usually, the standard introduction, how to contact the department, what are the requirements for the program. But the department website may offer more information in terms of how to contact the prof, who is perhaps there might be a dedicated page for first year students and how to choose the variants, other kind of important information that you may also find in addition to the calendar. The timetable builder is another link that you can find under course planning in the calendar, which I will click and I will do a little live demonstration of how to use it. But that is the section where you find, how the calendar is kind of like the authoritative, comprehensive document that has all the course offerings and descriptions. But the timetable builder is the one that will give you the actual rendering of what actual courses are being offered in a given session. So once you use the calendar to choose the courses that you need to do based on the programs that you're interested, you go to the timetable builder to find exactly how to build the courses. So here's the thing that, I'm not sure if maybe you have touched on, but the section, it's important that you also refer back to the prerequisites and prerequisites and all of that, which you actually are responsible to know all of that when you're picking your courses, because how you build your timetable sometimes will require that you know which courses have to be taken in what sequence. For example, if you're interested in math and you're going to be taking math 135 and 136, you have to be careful. You have to take complete math 135 first before 136, not the other way around. But in chemistry, so in some courses you can actually do it in whatever sequence there is, but otherwise you have to kind of pay attention to what the prerequisites and prerequisites are when you're mapping out the actual timetable. Okay, so strategies. First thing, obviously, we talked about the comprehensive list of programs. I would say take the time to do it. The more you read, the more eye-opening, but then you also start developing, seeing patterns. Oh, I like this program, this program, this program. There's a common denominator here. Math is probably one that you will obviously have to take. So that would be kind of start prioritizing and listing the courses as you go along. So I would say, check out a few programs, even like few programs that you're interested. Look at what the requirements are, first year requirements, initial requirements are, and then kind of like start building your core list of courses, courses that you would want to take in your first year, so that you have options. So generally speaking, if you are planning to do a 100% course load in your first year, so that's roughly speaking, aiming to do 5 full course equivalent. Okay. You can actually add up, like on the 28th of July, that's when the priority drops. That's also the day that you can actually add a 6th course to your calendar. So if there is a course that you like, another elective which you're not too sure and you kind of want to check out the courses, I would say add it. That's fine if there's spaces and you want to secure the space. But by let's say 20th of September, which is the last day to add and drop, that should be the day where you may want to, check out the courses even in person or whatnot, and then decide which one to drop. And I think realistically speaking, I strongly recommend you to stick to 5, not more than that, simply because at the beginning you could be full. At the beginning it could be very easy and you feel like, oh, I can handle 6, but it does get heavier. And then you don't want to necessarily, you do want to make sure that you do well in your core courses, right? So that's something to keep in mind as well. So definitely follow your interests. Don't, I think there are first year foundations. So these are courses that you can only take in your first year. So here's the thing. This is the part where after taking some core courses, let's say three or even 4 of them are core courses, which can lead to programs. Use your first year foundation, actually look at the list and see what topics interest you. So have an open mind. If you're already in computer science, maybe, so you don't have to take another computer science, like about finding out about data. It could be fun. It could be interesting. It could be a good opportunity to work with a prof, but maybe it's also using that opportunity to take some breath requirement outside, but also in a fun way, in an also intimate way, because a lot of these first year foundations are are meant to help students navigate through the transition. So the faculties are, and also teaching assistant are a little bit more in tune and will be walking you through some of the things that, transitional issues that you may have or encounter and provide more support that way. So that's the reason why I think it's a great opportunity for you to kind of look into that. So consider taking your breath requirement, but you don't have to actually complete all your breath requirements in your first year. One comment I do want to kind of say that sometimes if you follow your interest and you think, oh, I didn't set out coming to university to study this, but I do have an interest, I would say don't snuff that out. If anything, that the first year is your opportunity to do those kinds of exploration, because you will have, if computer science or math is your thing, you will eventually can, definitely take those courses in your later years, right? You don't have to like take more than what you need. So take this opportunity in your first year and a little bit of it in your second year to do that kind of exploration, because you never know. You may actually end up stumbling upon something that you may end up wanting to study or do a minor in. And things like computer science, math, those things are kind of very theoretical, but it can be also applied to many things. So the question is asking yourself, what are other areas of studies that you might want to inform yourself? That, it may be directly correlated, correlate or maybe different, it doesn't matter. But the key is finding something and doing some exploration in your first year is the best thing you can do actually in your first year. So, all right, any questions so far? All right, so you can go in depth, you can figure out how in depth you want to go in your latter years. So I would say, generally speaking, pick 3 major areas you want to study and then do those, take those courses. Okay, so patterns in first year required courses in CSE, because the majority of you will notice that if you are admitted into the actual CSE category, all you have, there are specific courses you have to do, and that includes the CSE 1110Y. It's a full year course. And then it will tell you 111 and math 137. So these already are like 2.5 credits that you have to do, right? There's a minimum requirement that you need to do in order to get the guarantee. If you're not in the guarantee, but you've been amended and you're interested in, then you will be taking another set of courses, and that is starting with 148 or 165. So these are the 2 courses if you're not in the category, but you still want to take those courses and possibly interested in that and applying at the end of the first year, then these are the 2 courses that they will look into for consideration. So the mark is a variable minimum grade, which means they will look at the average that you've gotten in these 2 specific courses to determine whether you meet the requirement. But in addition to that, I think for computer science, there's also a supplementary application that you have to do. But all of that information you can find near spring when the time comes to apply, if you're not already in the category with guarantee. Any questions so far? Yes.
Where will these slides be used?
Quarkus. Yeah, I-911 for Quarkus. Thank you. Okay. So all of this is actually taken from the calendar. So you can also like this information, this slide is actually from the calendar. So here's the thing. So CSE, oh sorry, I think I meant to say 1. There's a fact here. Sorry, 110 is a Y course, but the section code is an additional thing that you will find only in the timetable builder. And you will find that even though this is a Y course, this is one of the few ones that is compressed into a fall term. So you will see it's CSE 110Y1, which is a course, but it's an F course. You have to pay attention to that, because when a Y course is compressed into 1 term, it counts as a 2 course load. Okay, so that's why it's like the section code that you find in the timetable. It also is important to kind of notice when you're making your timetable. The CSE 111H1 is an S course, so it will be in the 2nd term only. Some courses are offered, F and Y, like so for example, algebra, math 223, you can actually take it in the 1st term or 2nd term. It doesn't matter. So whatever fit your timetable. But other courses are less flexible. It might be only in the 1st term, only in the 2nd term. So math 137 is a Y course, so both throughout the year. So this is how your more or less how your calendar will look like once you actually build it. So there are other patterns, as you can see. So depending on the program, these are all actually physical science programs. So the pattern, just by looking at the color, you'll see white. That means every single one of them will invariably need a math course, some sort of version of math. So that is basically the base of all physical sciences. And then I think that depending on which ones you do, then you might include an additional course like physics or biology or economics or statistics. Any questions so far? So we talked about variance. And so this is in the calendar, and when you click on math courses and you get a list of it, I'm just capturing only the first few, and just to explain what that means. So we know that there are 100, 200, 300, 400 series. So this is just an example that how do you figure out which first year courses you're going to take, right? So that for that matter, as Denise indicated earlier, you actually need to really look into the course description more fully. So generally speaking, for math, we have 133, which are mainly for commerce students. The standard is math 135 and 136. So calculus 1 and calculus 2. That's the standard. Then you got the more, a little bit more theoretical with proof, with 137. It doesn't mean it's actually harder. It's just that they incorporate the proof more. So there is a course, like if you accidentally didn't want to and then didn't take that course and then you decide that later on the program actually would benefit from having more proofs, you could actually take 138. But that is actually designed for students who, may have taken 35, 36 and wanted to get that extra little bit for proof. Okay, so choose which one you want to go. But in all intents and purposes, I think in the physical sciences, this would be the one. The 137 is the one to do. Then 157 is definitely a little bit more theoretical, more high level. So analysis. So and if you see anything with 19 something, 197, those are all seminar courses, right? So these are the only courses that you can take in your first year. These are not meant for students going into the program, right? These are usually for students who for actually non-science students, so it's open to other students as well. So that's how you kind of see the 199, and you automatically know that those are seminar courses. Okay, now there are also some 200 level courses, but that also, again, you have to look at the course description, and the course title sometimes will give it out to say that this is really not a second year course, but there are also courses that could be out for second year courses, but for non-science students. Any questions? Great. Moving on. Okay, so for computer science, we looked at the variance. So this is the pattern you will take if you're admitted to the CS admission category directly. And if you're not, then you might take 148, 165. But let's say you really don't have any programming background, then you may actually want to start with 108. So 108 in the first term, then 148, 165 in the second term. And then the rest, these are again for first year foundation, 196, 197. Okay, so I think chemistry, physics is pretty straightforward, the same. Chemistry 135, 136 would be the standard, and then 155 is the more theoretical one. The rest are, and then physics is kind of the same. So just be careful sometimes not to take 205 or something, because that is actually intended for humanities students. So also, this is just also to encourage those students out there who are in humanities and social science that are afraid of taking any category 4 or 5. Just wanted to let you know, good news is we have courses for all levels in any discipline. And that's why we encourage you to actually not be afraid to venture out and take these courses. Okay, so let's see, stats variance, see statistics actually, many people, technically the main one is math. But there is a stat 130 that you can only take in your first year. So many students who didn't realize they wanted to do stats, that's fine. And if they didn't take the 130, it's okay. You can then go ahead and take stat 220 series in order to qualify for a major or minor in stats later on. But if you are seriously thinking about actuarial science or possibly actually doing data science, then stats 130 would be something that you want to add to your timetable. Okay, final thoughts on variance. So when considering a more advanced option than what is needed, then be sure that you evaluate your interest and capability. So one way to also look at how to decide which variance to take, for example, is to maybe go visit the department website. Usually they have a website that might tell you a little bit more about what each of them, the difference between them and the topics that they cover. So you can compare the course syllabus and see, okay, is that something you want to do? Also, you know, in the first week, 2 weeks of class, maybe attend both of them to get a taste before you decide which one you want to drop or which one you're going to keep. Okay. Any questions so far? So we also have, I think Arrive Ready, you're probably already aware of this, but the deadline is coming up. You can sign up for a pump, which is a free course that you can sort of like help you to kind of go over some of the topics and stuff like that if you want to. So those are the dates that will occur. And I think it's all done online anyways. So. All right, so now let's see, we are going to, I'm just gonna do a mock live demonstration, how to use the timetable builder. So this is just kind of me pretending to be a first year computer science student, picking up courses. So I listed the courses that I needed. And so there are 3 core courses that I want because these are the main area of interest. So statistics and computer science. So once I do that, then I can go to the timetable builder and then I can see that this course is only offered in the first term, only in second term, this one is a year, and this one actually have a choice, right? So, and then I list all the other secondary interest, areas of interest for courses that I might be interested in adding. And then I also put the category on it in it, just so to have an idea. So the important thing is that you are, there. You're live. This. Okay, so when you go to the timetable builder, so this is what it looks like. So actually, the first thing, it's a little. I wish they could just always default it to arts and science and not having to do this every single time, but this is what it is. So it's important that you actually designate which faculty you're looking for, because otherwise, yes, you could be looking at, they would be spitting out like courses from all divisions, and that's just not something that you want to do at this point. And then make sure that you pick the right session. So the current summer session is on, so that's not the one that you want. So make sure that you click fall winter session. Okay, so you see there's F, S, and Y. And then there are more filters that you can apply, and this is the part where you can choose what to do. So in this case, if you already know, if you just want to know the department, let's say computer science. So you can just click on that, and if you don't put anything else, it will basically filter all the computer science courses that is being offered this year. Right, so there's multiple pages. So let's say I'm looking specifically for this one. So you can see, and then there's legend and more information. Again, that gives you, again, it's important to check for prerequisite, exclusions, and you can see here, this is the addition of information that is not in the calendar, which will give you like date and time, if you click on it, obviously a map comes up, exactly, it could be anywhere on campus. So, so one key things here to look out for is the enrollment control. So for most of you, I think it will say, like in this case, there's a restricted, meaning this lecture section is restricted at all times to this group of students. So that means if you are not admitted to the admission category in computer science admission category, then you will have to choose another section. Okay, so and this course, you will see you could choose, you have a choice of doing 2 lecture sections. If you scroll down, you'll see there are 2. Some math courses will have maybe 5 lecture sections. You choose one. Always choose a lecture section for each of the courses that you take. And then if you scroll down, you see tutorial or practicum. Again, that means you also have to choose one of those. Okay. The reason they're not, so they're compulsory part of the course. So you must actually, if you see a tutorial there or a practicum, you actually have to choose one. It's not optional. In fact, most of the attendance taking or quizzes and things like that actually happen during tutorial time. So that's why it's important that you actually factor that into your timetable. So let's say you between these two, you are more of a morning person. So you decide, okay, these are earlier session. These are the other session has a later start date for the other dates. Just choose, or maybe you have an interest, you like one talk over another. You can choose, and then you can add it to the timetable, right? And then basically on the side already is starting to build how it visually looking like. Okay, and then as you go adding more courses, so let's say now I want to do math. Let's see. One because this one you will see that search here. I wish they had less places as you go along, but that's just so this one has lots of sections, lecture sections. You see all of this, like 4, 5, maybe 6. So that's, and each of them will have maybe different time. Again, it's also important that you check out the enrollment control because some certain sections might be restricted to certain group of students like TYP or engineering students or something like that. Then that means if you're not part of that group, that means you may have been restricted. So sometimes that this is a good thing to check. So students who are, I think in your category will have the priority, but other students, if you're in humanities associates, might give you more. At this point, we'll have to wait until the 20th. So let's say you add, I would just add the timetable. Oh, it works, right? So it's green, it works, this time works. But if you could, if you show, let's say add another time or something, it will, like tutorial will show up as purple. And other times, I think if you have add one and it might say, if it's conflicting, it will show up as red. So that will quickly give you a visual and say, okay, maybe that section is not going to work with what you've chosen previously, and you may want to adjust it. So this is the tool that you can use to do that. Now, once you let's say pick out that, you can print it, you can sit around it, but the pertinent information that you still need are the course codes, because that is what you're going to have to enter onto Acorn. So just building the timetable, this is just a tool. It doesn't mean you're enrolled in the courses. I just want to make sure you understand that. You still have to actually enroll these courses and then specify the lecture and the tutorial section that you want and put it on the enrollment card. And that's it. Go back here. All right. So when you're doing your timetable, I think it's important for you to sort of really keep in mind that you should try to balance. You should always plan your time, your full year timetable. So not just the fall, but also the winter. So, because some of your courses might be wide, and then there are some courses in the second term that maybe not that flexible, so then you may then go back kind of, you know, can adjust your timetable and stuff like that. But it's important that you actually plan for both terms. Because if you wait later for the second term, then there chances are you may not actually get the sections you want. Because people, you should be planning from the get-go. You can make changes, but you should really be planning for the whole year. So generally speaking, I think the full course load for the fall winter section is 5 full credits. And for the summer it's 2 full credits. But some of you may decide, 5 is not really my thing. And if you are, eligible for accessibility service, support, and you are eligible for taking a course fee or taking a lesser course load, you may consider, just taking less, and that's okay. So we are very flexible. Faculty Advisory Side is very flexible in that sense, that ultimately you decide what the appropriate course load is for you. But generally speaking, in first year, I don't recommend you actually take more than 6. Any questions so far? So this F section code, that's pretty standard. But like I said, if you see a Y course compresses to 1, you have to treat that as 2 courses in that term. Sometimes in the summer, it's a flip side. You see a H course, but it's a Y section code. That means it goes throughout the summer, not just a subsection. So it's more spread out. So that's why we're talking about 2 different things, and we're talking about the section code.
Hello, I have
Okay,
question.
so you're eligible to pay per course fee if you are not taking more than 3.5 credits. So again, that may be something for you if you know that most of the time you have work, you have other things that you may be doing and need to balance. You may from the beginning, you may decide, okay, I'm just going to do per course fee, and this is how many courses I'm going to take per year. And then I will take a summer or some courses in the summer to make up from pick up place. So this is something that you could consider, and that's the financial aspect of it. Okay, so there are all other filters that you can use to find courses, and using the timetable builder. Sometimes you could add, I'm actually looking for a 300, 400 course. I want to look for a course that maybe is only offered online, so I have more flexibility. So you can actually add these filters to your course search and build your timetable that way. Any questions so far?
Hello, I have question. Can you hear me?
Again, it's important to balance your course load, so you do a check at the end. So this one is considered as 2. This is 1, 1, so there's 5 courses this year. But I'm probably, I might even add cognitive science 250 because it fits in my timetable and I want to check it out. And maybe I will choose to do this versus math and this one, whatever it is. Sometimes, so on the 28th, you can add a 6th course if there is something that you kind of wanted to check out as well. Okay, so the timetable builder is not going to stop you from entering courses that are conflicting. Sometimes, in this case, I just wanted to show that I put this as, and I added it anyways because I realized that Stats 130 tutorials actually have many sections that they are providing, but with no time yet. So that means, and I realize it's in the second term, so maybe they just haven't finalized all of that, and that's okay. But if I were you, I would just add the tutorial because you don't want to forget. You at least want a visual to know that, okay, I actually do need a tutorial. It's still red, we'll figure it out, but it's important that you actually add all the tutorials and everything in there. So just so you know, and you can account for that. So this is a pretty much a typical first year timetable. It's full. I'm making sure I have some time for lunch. This might be a little bit tricky on Friday, but again, this is something that you can sort of like visualize and then plan ahead, and then you can make adjustments as you go. Okay, I want to get my Fridays off so I can work, then you might be able to, up to you to make those things work for you. So, yeah. Any questions so far? Yes.
Can you hear me? I have question about course enrolling.
So I don't.
You know what, it's really, I cannot say a recommendation because it's really depending on the courses. So if 1 year you could have very heavy days, specific heavy days, like on Monday and Wednesday, for example, like it just happens, right? That all those courses that you need and want happen to be on those days. So then you may have a days that are more lecture heavy, but then you have more time. So all these blank times, it doesn't mean you don't do anything. In fact, I would say factor in every hour lecture about 2 additional hours of study. So it's going to, it's going to fill up. So the question is, you may just have to adjust your timetable. So time management is a real big thing. If you can get it right in your first year, then I think you are pretty much set for success. So we actually have learning strategists to help you with that. And please don't hesitate to, talk to upper year students, how they manage their time and things like that. But yeah, typically for 1 hour of lecture, this is just lecture and tutorial attendance time, but much of the study happens outside of that, which you kind of have to account for as well. All right, so just one note about there are some labs in between, like in practicum in biology and chemistry, that even though they will look like conflict on their schedule on the schedule, they are okay because they're actually meeting on alternate weeks. So the information is here, so make sure that if you are going to be choosing to enroll in a lab, alternating week lab with chemistry and biology, then you choose the right digit at the end. So, okay. But physics, it's all on its own. It cannot overlap with anything. So you are going to those labs every week. All right, so any questions so far? No. So,
hello, can you hear me?
Other controls here, but the majority of the ones that you probably will look like the most popular will be priority, which is set at a certain time for a certain group of people. And after that, on the 28th, you will be able to add when this priority drops. E-courses, if you see an enrollment control, that means it is a course that you actually have to enroll at the department. So sometimes you may have to go visit the department website. Maybe there's a separate thing that they might ask you to rank which courses, and then they have a separate procedure for doing that, and you will be informed sometimes directly by the department. But if you see an e-course, then you have to visit the department website or the department, enroll at the department. Only they can add you to the course if you are successful admitted to that course. Okay. So approved require, so again, there's a formal, you add it, and then they have a formal way, and then they will let you know whether you're in or not. So that's very, very rare. Restricted just means it's restricted at all times. So there are like the CSC 1110, unless you are in the admission category, you're not going to be able to pass. So delivered mode, most of our courses are in person, but there will be some that are hybrid with in-person testing or assessment. There could be online synchronous and also online asynchronous. So those are the types of delivery. So in the fall winter session, most of our courses are in person, but in the summer, we tend to offer more online options. Just again, we're trying to help students sort of like pick up the courses that they need to. So generally speaking, you can schedule classes one after the other. During the day, if you see a lecture section that starts with a 01, 2, 02, whatever, that means it's a day course. And the classes start basically 10 minutes after the hour. Okay, so you have 10 minutes to go from one place to another. I mean, unless you're going from one end to another in the winter, that might be 10 minutes might be tight. I would say most of the time within 10 minutes in crossing from east central, I don't think that should be an issue. So that's okay to do. Evening courses that is L5 something till something is after 5. That's an evening course. It starts on the hour. So don't go 10 minutes after the hour. Okay. Okay, and we have, yeah, Innis is right here. We're right here on St. George. So most of your computer science here, most of the sciences are actually here. So I think you should be okay. All right, so what does it mean to be registered? Last thing I want to really emphasize, because after doing all of this work and adding the courses on your enrollment card, the last thing you want is not to forget to pay for the fees and actually complete your registration. Because otherwise you lose your courses, and there is absolutely, first of all, I think there's a penalty. You have to pay $60-something to be added back to courses. But on top of that, there just may not be a guarantee that you can get back into those courses that you were signed up. So absolutely important that you do that. If you, for whatever reason, really close to the deadline and not sure that you're registered, please contact us or show us a proof of payment so we can manually register you to avoid all that kind of hassle. And the deadline is August 30th. Okay, how are we doing with time? I think we do have some time left. Fees and registration. So actually, as soon as you, I think most of you will be by default be, I think, assessed as full-time. So you'll be paying a program fee. So I have some links here. You can sort of check out from if you decide you want to do change the course fee, how it changes, and so on. But September 20th is the day that, first of all, it's an important day because it should be the day that you literally finalize your courses. You should really finalize the courses. Courses that you're not planning to take, please drop them. Because any course that stays on, we assume you are in, whether you actually attend the class or not. And then if you have 0 in the end, because you inadvertently enrolled in this class and you didn't know about, but you're still liable. So so that is an important day to make sure, and then you double check, are you in the right courses? Are you in, other courses they're not supposed to be in, just drop them, because also that is the day that will determine whether you are eligible to continue on for course fee, if that's the case. Okay, so that's final thoughts. All right, I think it's just, again, it is actually your responsibility to make sure that when you enroll in courses that you do follow the prerequisite inclusion, because ACORN will not stop you from enrolling in a course that you don't have, or you have maybe a transfer credit and exclusion and stuff like that. But it doesn't mean that the department is not going to check later on, especially those courses that have high enrollment pressure. They might check and they might put you out. And then I don't know when they do that. And when they do that, you may not have an opportunity to add another course. So I think it's your, make sure that you do that, check that. ACORN also does not prevent you to make timetable conflicts. So plan carefully. Even though you're allowed to be in a course that are having time conflicts, you cannot be unless you can separate yourself and be in many different universes. I think you cannot be in the same class in the same way. And then if you do that, then you run into the risk that you, first of all, maybe losing some lecture notes, opportunity to attend quizzes and whatnot. And then profs are also not obliged to make accommodations because you have a time conflict. That if you have to have a time conflict for whatever reason, then it's important that you do talk to the prof and then see whether that is actually feasible for you to do. Think of arrange accommodations. So it is your responsibility to make sure that you do not or avoid time conflicts at all costs. So there are also some dates that ACORN will shut down. So don't be alarmed. And those usually follow like, July 27th, which is the day before they open the priority enrollment drops. And that's because they want to see how the demand of the courses, they might make adjustment to increase class size or not before they open it up for the 28th. Okay, so that's typically, so you cannot add, you can view, but you cannot add or change or cancel. So don't panic and say, I cannot do changes. And yes, but yeah, just so you know, there are dates that actually will shut down for a purpose. And then there's also the first and third. The second, it actually opens up to non-degree students. So that's a very strategic day. So anyways, just wanted to let you know in advance. So there are wait lists. You can be on the wait list and it will go up to maybe the 15th. And then there's between the 15th and the 20th. It's called a lottery or first come first serve. Okay, so there's that, just because the wait list is off, it doesn't mean you don't have a chance to get into the course. It just means that you are at the mercy of someone dropping the course. And then if you happen to spot it, you can still add it. You have until the 20th to add the course or to change courses on the first term, F and Y courses. Okay, and which is roughly 2 weeks into the exam. And so that is the also period where you can shop around, go to classes in person, check some professors out, and whatever it is that you want to do. That's okay. Any questions so far? Yes.
We have some questions from the Zoom.
Yeah.
First, someone says, one of the designated tutorial sessions of the MAT 157 FLC and the only lecture session of MAT 138 are at the same time. Can I change the time of the tutorial? And if so, how?
So first of all, if you are in MAT 137, you should
157 and 138.
If you're MAT 157, you should not be enrolled in 138. So that should not be a potential conflict at all. So, but you have a good question, because you will notice that there are more tutorial sections than lecture sections. So in general, put in the lecture sections in your timetable, and the tutorials one, you can always go back because there are more sections available. And chances are you are able to probably move the tutorial sections around, find one that can accommodate that you can put on your timetable. And if you still have issues, then yes, talk to us. We can try to help you.
Someone else asks where they can access the video recordings for the meetings. I assume that means this.
Quercus.
Quercus.
Denise is going to, it may not be immediate after this, but I would say in the next week. Yeah. And you will get a notification.
Okay, and tuition fee payment / deferral starts on July 17th, but priority enrollment for CS starts on July 10th. How would we be able to register for courses between July 10th and 17th if we need to pay / defer tuition fees to be allowed to enroll in courses?
So I think the terminologies are slightly different. So let me clarify. Course enrollment is you adding the course. That doesn't mean registering. That's just course enrollment. You're enrolling it. Registration is confirming that you are now enrolled and you're registered. So the registration is triggered by the payment. So you cannot actually be registered before you can enroll in courses, because courses have to appear in your timetable in order to trigger a cost, like an invoice, and then you pay, and then that triggers the registration. That's why I said previously in the slide that it's course enrollment plus registration. It's what equals course, right? Okay, it's what equals registration. So currently, when you go in to enroll in courses, you will see an invite status for fall 2023-24. You're not registered yet. So you will see that after you pay fees, we run a program and say, okay, it would change the status from invite to register. And that's what you need to kind of like basically look out for.
Okay, one more. CSC 111 is required course. It's a question about prerequisites. I guess CSC 110 is a prerequisite for 111. Can I enroll in CSC 111 at the same time with other course this July?
Yes. Yes, because see, as I said, I think you need to plan for both terms. Even though CSC 110 YF is in the first term, you know that you have to also take CSC 111, because if you don't meet these two, you're not gonna meet the admission terms for computer science. Does that make sense? I think you should, right? Any questions? Any more questions?
There's a follow-up. On the under the MAT 157 section of the academic calendar, it says that students may also want to take MAT 138 concurrently with MAT 157. Should I still not take 138 if I'm taking 157?
I don't recommend you take 157 and 138. Yeah, 157 is also already has all of those things and more. 138 is really meant for students who had taken 135, 136, and didn't get the proof which 137 offers. Then you can make up that sometime later on. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I would recommend for math. Yes. Any other questions? Are you excited? Scared? No, don't. Like I said, I think if the math courses, I would say we offering a free pump program. If you're really not comfortable with that, if you have a good foundation, you will do okay. The other courses, I would say, this is the time. Don't be intimidated. If you have any questions, email me or email any of us. We can, send us a list of your courses. It's like, Claudia, this is what I've chosen, and I'm not so sure about this. We can have a conversation, because I cannot prescribe you because there's so many courses. So having sometimes a conversation with you, maybe I'll get a better sense of what you're interested and what you actually want to get out of the courses. Then I can make further recommendations. So please don't. All I'm saying is, do as much reading as you can, or whatever, find out, have an open mind, let your curiosity take you to places. And if you have questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Okay? All right. So any other things? So it is exactly 12:30. Yay. I do want you to make sure you can get there and get your food, and then have more time to kind of, take in a little bit of the information and ask, help other. Okay? Thank you. Thanks. No. Oh, it's okay. Thanks so much. I love having you.